Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Boom. Good morning, Insurance Syndicate. Happy winning on Wednesday. Hope y'all are having an amazing start to your week. It is the peak of the week. Keep the pedal on the floor. We're getting after it. Obviously, you can see I have somebody a little bit different sitting next to me. That is not obviously Mr. Tony Merwin. Shout out to Mr. Merwin. Merwin is actually on a Hollywood set right now, y'all. So, Tony, if you're watching this, best of luck to you, man. Hopefully, it's for a huge movie. I don't know if you 100% know if it's a big Hollywood movie or not, but I hope you're having
some NDAs involved there.
There's some NDAs involved. But shout out to y'all. Hey, what's up, Syndicate? Hope you guys again are having an amazing week. We have an awesome show for y'all today. It's a little bit different setup. And so I just want to lead with, do not hesitate to ask questions and drop in the comments as we kind of get going into this. I've got my good buddy Todd Wilson here. This is going to be really geared for it's for tenured agents too, if you're trying to change up the pace, but definitely for newer insurance agents within your first 6 months, maybe within your first year. Todd has been in for 6 months now and is going to be sharing his kind of journey and his experience through that. And then obviously we're going to have some fun and have a little bit more laid back conversation. And again, guys, don't hesitate to drop in the comments. I am toggling here in between. What's up, Miss Lily? I appreciate you. JR, I was just talking about you this morning, brother. Good to see you, man. What up, Amar?
It's funny how those comments start blowing up. Right off the rip.
Oh, is it because Todd's on the show? But good morning, everybody. Hey, real quick, y'all, if you are tuning in here, and I think actually, I don't know if you still have to do it with the StreamYard link, but if you see the StreamYard link up in the comments, make sure and click that just so we can see your comments. Again, it's kind of weird now with how we're having to stream with stream keys and Facebook Lives and blah, blah, blah. Okay. But without further ado, Mr. Todd Wilson, why don't you give everybody a quick 30,000-foot overview of who is Todd, and then what's a weekly win for you?
Well, 30,000. I don't know if we got time for that. No. So my wife and I, we moved down to Texas, met Mr. Joe Campert here, probably about 2 years ago?
Yeah, probably give or take.
3 years ago.
Give or take.
Yeah. So we've been kicking it ever since. When he met me, I was working at Tesla. I ran a department there. It's basically procurement. And then, he kind of inspires in limbo with Tesla. I was kind of, capped out, hit the ceiling really fast there. And then I actually got into more of a sales driven position, slinging roofs,
roofs
in the middle of summer,
door knocking in Texas, baby.
Central Texas. Yeah. It's, don't want to go back. You get up on those roofs and it's 110 down on the ground. It's, 220, you're slow cooking up there. Basically doing adjustments and, pre-adjustments, making sure that, everything checks and balances, everything's going to be good. So I come from the opposite side of insurance, right?
Yeah,
so
he pisses us off if you're in property and casualty.
But with that experience, I feel like that helped me, excel early and, I'm in PNC space. I work with Joe directly, I'm on an in-house team. But yeah, just being able to, I had a very diverse construction background as well. I got into commercial plumbing right out of high school. Took a little time off of college, ended up going back to college, got my degree at 30, business admin, focus on sustainable enterprising, finding the long game in companies, starting LLCs, helping, college students kick off patents, for ideas and, things of that nature. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. I'm glad that I'm in this space now. It's been a wild ride in this space, frankly.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
and what's a weekly win for you?
Weekly win.
You've had quite a few. Well, the past few weeks you've been having some wins for sure.
Sure.
I'll let you backtrack a couple weeks if you want, because I know there's some big wins in there too.
Yeah. Well, Joe got my weekly win. I think last week we quoted and sold a lot of policies in the month of May, and we were on the road at SWAT, and I sold. It was supposed to be over 100K. It's going to be 107. It ended up being 82K. While we were on the road.
In a week. Well, yeah, in less than a week. And that was in like 2-3 days.
Yeah, it was really like 2 days, but it was wild, man. Like, we're in Dallas. Joe's obviously super connected. So we have meeting. We get there, we shoot a podcast, and then we go meet somebody, finance guy. And, I'm sitting there, on the phone with an underwriter trying to get everything worked through because, I had a $50,000 commercial auto policy that, at last minute, it actually dropped down to 35. I was like,
premium finance agreements and all that fun
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And we go to the first day of SWAT, and, we're kind of decompressing afterwards. We went to Topgolf, but in the in-between time, I checked my email, and finance an agreement that I'd put out, a month ago, had just been bound. And I was like, wow. Like, and, so I get on the horn and, I'm talking to the customer, and I was like, I knew it was coming. I just didn't know it was going to be like instant. So, surprise. I welcome that kind of a surprise, though, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, man. Love it. Well, and I hope you guys heard that, and if you are struggling, or if you're kind of in the ups and downs right now of insurance, which we've all gone through it. I've been in 10 years now, actually, this month, which is crazy to think, that getting in when I was 19, you're talking about commercial plumbing and then construction. And I know you do a lot of stuff with cars and like handyman galore over here. Then he's Tesla, and then slinging roofs. And then obviously we brought him over to the light side, to the force, right? Got him away from hitting our profitability on the property and casualty side.
I like that. Jack of all trades, master of some.
Yeah. Well, we're changing that. But again, for anybody that, y'all, it's within your first 6 months to a year, you're going to have the struggles. We talked about this. If any of you guys saw my podcast a couple weeks ago with Mr. Ryan Stewman, it ain't all rainbows and sunshines. Sure. And I think, it's easy to feel that when you get those quick hits, right? And we'll kind of talk a little bit about Todd's story and just how he instantly found success. And then obviously, again, it's not all rainbows and sunshine in this industry. Real quick, before we get into that, though, my weekly win is, and they're actually here sitting behind the camera, is Mr. John and Mrs. Jessica Suda are here in town from Wichita, Kansas. They are partners of ours on the Clearview side of things, Redwood, whatever you want to call it. It's all going to be Clearview here pretty soon, guys, so don't worry. But they are here training in the office. They drove here from Wichita, made it here through a freaking hailstorm, and are here slinging deals, making some money, learning some new things. So shout out to them. We had a great day in the office yesterday, and it's been an awesome start to the week to get going. So shout out to you guys behind the camera. I appreciate you guys, and looking forward to finishing out the week strong. Real quick before we get into the show, also shout out to Viva Virtual Solutions. You guys see Lily there in the comments. Shout out to Lily. I appreciate everything that you do for the show behind the scenes, all the editing and the publications on all the platforms. Again, so shout out to you, Lily, and shout out to Viva Virtual Solutions, our main sponsor of Winning on Wednesday. All about Rob Lopez and everything they're doing at Viva. We've got, I can't tell you how many VAs we have through them now, but they are really, they're a pivotal part to our team. We need our virtual assistants. They're not just a VA. They're literally like helping us find success in this industry and running our agencies more efficiently. So again, if you're looking for any type of virtual solutions when it comes to virtual assistants, reach out to Viva and Rob Lopez. We appreciate you guys. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Obviously, you just kind of shared a quick little 30,000 foot overview, but let's kind of dive into that, right? And like just kind of who was Todd, kind of as you were kind of even getting into the corporate world. Obviously, you come from way different than freaking corporate world, right? And then obviously now you're kind of back into the insurance side of things, which is, so you've kind of gone back and forth a few times. Sarah, just where are you from? And kind of how did you grow up, and like what kind of got you to where you are today?
Sheesh, loaded question. I'm from all over. Born in Kansas. My family, we quickly moved to Texas. We actually spent a little bit of time in the Austin area. We moved down to San Antonio, Canyon Lake. Moved from Canyon Lake when I was 13 to North Carolina. I finished out high school there. Worked, commercial plumbing, got into some construction there. I've been in the restaurant game, as a side hustle forever. Then PA, after that, Pittsburgh area, repping my burg up here.
Go Ravens.
always got to say something. And then back down here, my wife and I, Samantha, I don't know if you're watching this right now, but love my life. We moved down here about, I'd say we're coming up on 4 years now. We wanted to do it before COVID, right around COVID, actually. PA was a really difficult state to live in during those times. The whole state shut down. I mean, I'm talking literally everything. 10 people in a grocery store at a time, and literally can't be on the road. It was wild. So we fled as soon as we could.
I'm out.
And yeah, so and very thankful. Michael and Nikki, my wife's best friend, her husband, they all graduated same class from Slippery Rock, PA. That's actually where I had my degree from, SRU. Repping the green too, and I didn't even plan that. So green and white, not green and yellow. But yeah, so now we fled back down here. I got back into the construction game for a little bit, built a 2-story deck, did a demo on a bar, was rebuilding the bar, doing the framing, and then just got ghosted by the contractor owner of the bar. And I mean, I don't want to go into financials or anything, but at the time it was a hard hit for me. And I was like, man, I gotta make a change. So reverted back, while I was going back to school, doing my finishing out my bachelor's. I was actually a store manager for lids. And I did that for about 3 years. So I reverted back to that, kind of, got complacent there, and had an opportunity with Tesla, got involved with Tesla. Like I said, spoke on that a little bit ago, hit the ceiling there pretty quick, jumped ship from that, got back into sales, saw some opportunity, run towards the shiny object. Right. So, and then, here I am with Joe, jumping into insurance though.
Did you ever have, I know quite a bit of your story, but maybe share some of it with the listeners, is like just having to make those changes, and just kind of how that like made you feel, like just internally, and just all, again, like, man, okay, I got to go now. I'm doing this, man, crap. All right. That's not working out. Now I'm going to do this. Right. Or man, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Shit. I'm getting ghosted and, burned on thousands of dollars. Now I've got to go do this. Can you kind of talk through some of those just feelings? Because again, it's a real thing, even though in our industry, guys, we're in a very multifaceted industry. Whether you're in the sales side of things, the service side of things, the property and casualty side of things, the life side of health insurance, you name it, tech. There's so many variables in this industry where I definitely see it. I think a lot of agents will, okay, well, life insurance ain't really working out, so I guess I'll try this health insurance thing. And it's like, well, I mean, if you're not really cutting it in life insurance, I don't know if health insurance is, or maybe it is. Who knows, right? So I guess maybe talk through some of those emotions and some of those feelings as you were making those decisions.
Yeah. And I did want to say there, if life insurance isn't working for you, PNC probably isn't.
Yeah, true.
Let's be honest.
It's a different type of sale.
But yeah, so I think that there's a lot of value in that question. When it comes down to it, it's you gotta be all in, right? I mean, that's a really difficult question.
What are the actual emotions though? Because again, that's, I mean, for some people that's like kind of detrimental to
Yeah.
their psyche, right? And to their mindset of like, here we go again, right? On to now I got to start over again at the bottom and work my way back up, right?
Sure. You know, combination of, you know, being nervous, being, you know, it's a matter of like, am I going to be able to make this work? That one, when you can get that one out of the way and really, you know, rise above that. I mean, some people thrive on that, right? I think that's, you know, that's that rock bottom mentality, you know, and when you're down, you know, just picking up the scraps, you see everybody else making it above you. It's like, man, it's really inspiring to do better and be better. Right. But, you know, shifting from industry to industry, you know, there is definitely I'd say that there's probably, you know, to some degree, that nervous tick where it's like, you know, is this the right fit for me? Am I doing the right thing? You know, is this the long game? You know, can I make this work? You know, if I'm going to be completely honest, you know, and you've heard me say this a number of times, the office dynamic that we have here, I've been looking for my whole life, you know, and, you know, with Tesla did not have that. I'm talking about like, you know, we actually had a Friday meeting last week, and, you know, my boy Alex Hankey hits me with this video, and I'm like, man, that's actually really inspiring. One of the biggest takeaways that I got from it was, you know, that CYA, that cover your ass email. And it's like, man, you have a tough talk with somebody in a corporate industry, and it's like, dude, you don't know what the repercussions are of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, am I going to get fired for speaking my mind? You know, even though that's the filtered version of what I truly want to say, right? Like, I want to say something completely different,
some other shit,
you know, but like at the end of the day, you know, it's just like, maybe that's for some people. That's not me. You know, I like to be authentic. I like to be raw. You know, I like, you know, that's when I'm targeting, you know, my commercial auto guys, you know, truckers predominantly, you know, it's part of my script. It's part of who I am. Hey man, I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to give it to you straight, because nobody else is going to do that, you know, and that's what they're seeking, that raw, authentic, somebody to like put it all on the table. Here, balls in your court. You make the decision on who you want to work with ultimately. And, you know, that's that. Walk away.
Yeah.
If the time is not right, time is not right.
So then, well, okay, so you started getting into it. So let's just start there then. Let's start your first 48 hours in insurance.
Whew.
Oh, Cole, you can't even do that. They were a good ass 48 hours to start.
They were. It's a Joe's perspective of that versus my perspective of that are completely different. You know, when you're the guy standing behind, you know, the guy on the phone, it's, you know, that's a little bit different. And he constantly, you know, even to this day, you know, I'm on the phone, I'm having a difficult conversation. I go to stand up, and, you know, whatever, Joe comes up behind me and just puts his hands on my shoulder. Sit down, dude. Like, sit down, focus. You know, maybe I'm hitting my vape or something. No, dude, I can hear. I get a slack, and I'm like, dude, I can hear your vape from all the way over here. It's like, no, that's impossible. And, you know, I don't do it all the time, but anyways, yeah. So
first 48 hours.
Day one was a rough transition for me, because I don't have telesales background at all. That's what we do here. You know, that's what I do. I'd say predominantly 6 out of the 8 hours of the day, 9, 6 out of 9, 6, whatever, that it never really stops. You know, trying to develop that script, make it my own, right? Because you don't want to. The last thing you want to do is sound like a robot. You know, so that was one of the things I had to work at really hard, and that's where that nervous tick comes in. I'm like, man, you know, 50 calls in, I'm like, is this it? You know, like having, you know, kind of second thoughts, and I'm like, can I do this every day? Day 2, it was 9:30 in the morning. I get a guy, you know, and you never forget your first one, you know, right? Old Timmy Woodbury.
Yep, I remember
Rose Gold Logistics LLC.
Yep.
You know, I get this guy on the phone. We're vibing. You know, I kind of worked through all the nervousness. My script was still kind of like spotty. But yeah, I get old Timmy on the phone, and we're vibing, and he's like, hey man, I need it. I'm ready to do it right now. That was 27K policy. And you know, it was that reality really hit, and I'm like, oh,
I need a. Where's the
all that nervous tick went away real fast. It's crazy how that works, isn't it?
See the
Hey.
So, but then go back. Well, and actually, real quick before we get into that, I hope y'all heard that too, because sitting in the seat that I'm in, obviously. So again, Todd's on my internal team. I work with him on a daily basis, and now he's really starting to come into his own and do his own thing, right? But I think part of it, right? And I remember when first bringing him on was not everything was perfect, right? And I think, sometimes that is a false expectation that I think leaders have, that, man, everything's just going to go super smooth, or you've got everything figured out, because we're all created differently. We're all going to sell differently. Like we talk about this a lot. I'm never going to find another Joe. And I think that's why people struggle with delegation or whatever, because like, oh, you're never going to have, they're never going to do it like me. Well, it's like, well, then you're missing the point of freaking delegation, right? But I also think, one thing I just got from that was you got to just plug into something and just put in the work. I think even in your changes and your shifts within industries, it's always, excuse me, fuck it, man. I just got to go. I just got to put in the work, right? It's not like I like waking up at 4 a.m. and going out to Tesla for this corporate job, right? But it's, hey, I got to just plug into something. It's not always going to be perfect, y'all, and I just got to put in the work to make something happen. And then ultimately, and that's why I talk so much about sharing this opportunity, y'all. Todd, like, it's funny. He thinks like, oh, we just connected. He thought, because anybody that's been around here, we go to Majori's a lot, right? And so, but we always take our laptops, and so it was me, Alec, I think it was me, Hanky, and Amar, I'm pretty sure. And so we're sitting there just working, and Todd thought we were freaking college kids, just sitting there because ACC was across the park. But then it's like, no, we actually get to talking, and then turns out within the first 6 months of showing him this opportunity, he's going to find a career in this thing, and just really, again, kind of coming into his own. And it doesn't, I think, again, so, like, people are probably getting burned out and waiting for the right opportunity because they're waiting for it to be perfect, and it'll never be perfect. There's never going to be just a perfect time to freaking jump into it, right? We were just talking yesterday when we were training with Jessica and John. It's like, man, you just got to go. Just get on the phones and go, and you'll kind of figure it out. You'll make it your own. The repetition is what really helps you kind of get into that rhythm, right? So talk about, and that's easy to say, right? Oh yeah, hell yeah. First 48 hours, I'm already closing almost $30,000. You guys know, I mean, how long it took me just to close 30,000 in a month when I was when I was in sales. I probably didn't do that for my first 5 years in the freaking business, right? And so a lot of people, they hear that and like, damn, but then share with them kind of the next kind of few months and just kind of what that was. And I mean, for the lack of a better term, the rocky road that you were you were on.
Sure. I do want to, I kind of circle back to, no, I'm not going to find another Joe. You don't want to find another Joe.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You want that. That
would be bad if there's 2 Joes in an office.
Oh, you want that authenticity though. You want people to be themselves, the right training and everything is one thing, but you really got to be yourself, and that's what sells.
Mm-hmm.
But so it has been, it has been a rocky ride for me. I spoke on the success story day 2, that's all great. But then what happened to the next 2 months, for me? So, I'm one of those types of people that I have to learn all possibilities. Okay, now I'm into this thing, I've got people, back home hitting me up, for homeowners policies and all personal auto, Facebook friends, people that my wife's a bartender, people that, come in and regulars there. And, I'm blessed, because of all the opportunity that we have within our agency, man. I'm telling you, what do we have? 65 carriers.
Shit, I don't know.
It's insane.
Too many.
I mean, it's insane. It really is. And, knowing, appetites and who's winning where, and, that just that aspect alone is so difficult to get into, to just get down. So, the person I am, I've, got to know it all. And it's like, man, now I wish I could have fast forwarded to where I am now, where it's like, dude, you don't need to know nearly any of that. just focus on you, do you, find that niche, find that space, and, just excel, be the best at that space,
So
be the best with that.
what was happening in those moments or in that time, right? Because it's not that you weren't learning. I think you were learning, right? But for whatever reason, it wasn't panning out on the financial side of things, right?
Yeah.
So kind of
So
what was it? Frustration? Was it
it was.
confusion? Was it a mixture of what the fuck? I can always figure stuff out and I can't get this, or what? What was it?
Sure. I think it was a combination of all of that, really. You kind of said that, a mixture. For me, it was like, one homeowner's quote, through running it through 5 different carriers, taking me, you know, 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, then I call back and, customers getting cold feet. I'm only saving them $100 a month or $100 a year kind of thing. And it's like, I'm not really coming in competitive. So, all that time, those conversations, the initial conversation, the time spent, quoting them out, then the follow up, by the time it's all said and done, I've spent, 3 hours of my day, just on one customer.
Mm-hmm.
You spread that over 50, and it's like, man, what am I doing here? I haven't sold a policy in, a month and a half. Is this thing in, Joe, you really, smack me back to reality. And you're like, man, I remember having this conversation with you, it's like, dude, we got to make this thing make sense, and I think that that's important. You really got to reality check yourself. Is it working? Is this you? Is this your identity? And if it's not, then find your identity, right?
Yeah.
Find yourself, find you, for me, that was shifting completely out of personal lines. Like, we have a whole dynamic shift in office here, right? Everybody was kind of writing whatever and anything that they can. Now I'm the commercial auto guy. That's all I do all day long. Talk to truckers, talk to, companies that have fleets, anything commercial auto that you can think of.
Yeah.
So,
So I think,
great.
excuse me. You made some good points there. I think, finding yourself in the industry. And when he's saying, we got to make it make sense. I don't take that, y'all. If you're struggling, like, don't take that in as a way as a cop out or a way to get out. Because we understand that this industry produces more millionaires than or outside of any other freaking industry, right? So even real estate and I guess financial services and insurance is, I guess, included in the millionaire stat. But again, we produce the most millionaires. We just have the highest fail rate. And I think that's because too many agents bow out right before we talk about it a lot where, the guy's chipping away, and he's just one freaking swing away from striking gold. And then we have 92% of our agents, yeah, I'm out. Right. Yep. And it's like, and you were this freaking close. And I think this is also, kind of a lesson. This was a learning lesson for me. Obviously, you guys know this was probably a month ago now, talking about, hey, I wear a lot of different hats. And I think if you're sitting in a leadership type role and you have, agents or people in your downline, in your agency, doesn't matter whether it's life or health or property and casualty, right? You gotta be there. And so that was another thing. He talked about this conversation where we sat down, and I mean, don't act like that anybody liked that conversation. I think Hanky was the only one that didn't have a problem with it, because his job wasn't really changing or anything like that. But just redefining the roles and then sticking to them and keeping people accountable. And I think there's a lot of leadership out there that's not doing that. And again, it was my fault, because the reason I had to come back and do it was because I hadn't done it out the gate. I was letting it slip. I was busy. One point you made earlier when you were talking about how you made those sales at SWAT, right? That in between time. Hey, I'm like super busy, but then like you got this in between. What are you guys doing with your in between time, right? Are you willing to put in the work in the in between time, right? To help get and it's like that, just one more, right? Just one more rep, one more shot, one more call. And it just gets you. And if you do that, who was it? I can't remember who was talking about that. I think was it Ed Milet? I think there was some podcast we were watching where they were talking about how he would just stay just an extra 30 minutes, right? Just an extra 30 minutes every day. And just when you accumulate that over a year, how many more dials and how many more sales and how many more conversations he had just because of an extra in between time, right? 30 minutes.
Sure,
so again,
that 30 minutes, man, like you snag one person, you don't snag one person. I mean, how often is that happening though? One out of 5. I mean, that's still It's a lot of business.
So I guess talk through some of your process. I actually want to get into, guys. So obviously you heard him talk. Todd is our in-house commercial auto trucking specialist. That is all he does. He lives, eats, and breathes it. And he's getting really freaking good at it. And a lot of y'all, if you guys are more interested in learning on the trucking side of things, hit me up. You guys know I've got the trucking course that I can hook you guys up with. But Todd is really just, again, he's found his identity in this. And I think, another thing you said too, dude, was being yourself is what sells. And it's so true, because if you hear this dude get on the phone and he really starts getting going, and he can talk the talk, right? He's been around it enough. He's been around that type of demographic of folk long enough to know kind of the slang and the lingo, right? And then we were in the Facebook group, so we're learning how they talk, and we're also learning some of their extracurriculars as well. If anybody wants to know what
let's not even.
If anybody wants to know what a lot lizard is, go look in Rubber Side Down. That group is wild.
Oh, man.
But no, just I guess talk through what that process is. Like, talk through your daily routine. Like, what do you do on a daily basis? Let's start there.
Okay. Yeah. So literally waking up, kind of rolling out of bed, email, go through that checklist, any non-negotiables kind of thing that I can get in front of and just kind of plan ahead on, what that conversation's looking like, what that's going to sound like coming from me. And then straight into Facebook, the man, the myth, the legend over here, Mr. King of Facebook groups, and truly inspired me on that one. It's funny, on a Saturday morning, my wife actually gives me shit all the time. Just, she'll wake up and I'm
scrolling groups, baby.
And, I've got, I've already hit, I don't even know, like 20 people, and by 9 a.m. kind of thing, still just laying in bed. And
that in between time, you guys hearing that?
Yeah, no, that's kind of the point that I want to get to here, is that the switch really never turns off. You have to realize, like in my space, right? Like, these guys are on the road all the time. You really have to make yourself available. And whether that be, 7 o'clock, your time, you're sitting down for dinner and phone rings, you got to take it. You got to do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, it just come into the office, we're in office every day by 8. I get on Facebook, like I said, pretty instantly after waking up, come into the office, continue that on until I'm comfortable calling people. I don't want to be the one that wakes them up at 8:30. Hey, this is Todd Wilson. I'm a commercial auto specialist and
you want some insurance? Like, broker. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah. That's the last thing they want to hear as soon as they wake up. Right. Yep. But, I start dialing, I'd say probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock. I've got a system developed now. I'm pulling probably, I'd say, anywhere between 1,200 to 2,000 leads a week that I'm targeting. And the way that I target them is by time zones. So I'll reach out. I have an East Coast list, a Central list, and a West Coast list. As the day progresses, I jump, bounce around from list to list. But, the last thing that I'm wanting to do is hit somebody in like Washington State, for instance, at 9 a.m. my time, and it's 8 a.m. or 7 a.m.
right,
depending on, where we are in times, the time shift. So I'm hitting East Coast because now it's 9, 10 o'clock their time. Mm-hmm. Don't have a problem hitting somebody up at 10 o'clock. No problem at all. Then by lunch, I'll switch back into Central. But I'm probably, I'd say I'm a lot more heavy on the dial out from in the morning time, like between the hours of like 10:30 to about 12:30 ish. Then I try to keep the rest of the day open for quoting, putting together all that stuff. The callbacks, going over what these policies look like. Cause I don't know what any of y'all, what kind of space y'all are in, whether that be, Medicare, life insurance, whatever that may be. The policies that I'm selling are 25,000, 30,000 here in Texas. Right. that same policy in Florida is going for 50, 55.
I think Laura's story was on here earlier, and she's going to be like, preach.
Yeah, exactly. Laura probably knows. Laura definitely knows.
Them Florida rates.
Yeah. And, I've sent her some personal lines down there too. And it's no different.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to get somebody prepared for a $3,000 down payment on their insurance is a tricky situation. And then there's other hurdles and obstacles too. You get a guy on the phone and, I'm targeting people that have literally just in the last month applied for their DOT, meaning that they plan on hauling goods for hire. Whether that be in-state, out-of-state, I'm not gonna get in the weeds on that, but effectively, 2, 3 out of 10 guys, hey, I'm not ready yet. I don't have a truck. Well, guess what, man? I got a financing option for you.
What's up, Larry? I think you're in here.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. Love it, man. That relationship's growing. And it's really, Joe has really, as far as leadership, we kind of circling back on that, is really given me a lot of opportunity to excel and, make this work for people too, because we're trying to generate wealth. We're trying to get people, these are LLCs that we're dealing with here. So, we're trying to get them to where this is the long game for them. This is, they're all in, this is literally their family. Everybody's dependent on them. I hear that all the time, man. That's what motivates a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of the day, that motivates me. I don't want them renting a truck from Enterprise or Penske or something like that. Break it down to, do you rent your house or do you have a mortgage on your house? Are you generating wealth or are you generating wealth for someone else? And at the end of the day, if I can be that guy that's like, hey man, I've got a plug for financing options. I mean, to the degree where it's like, these aren't even coming off the lot. Like
right.
We can go on, I talk about Facebook all the time. We're on Facebook Live right now. Let's go shop Facebook Marketplace, see what's in your area. We got options and then we got a warranty options, like 2 year, 5, 2 year,
3 year.
3 year.
Yeah. 3 year, 5K.
Yeah. 3 year, 5K, covers all OEM. It's great. I mean, I'm not speaking on it because we don't have it yet. We're still in the early phases of that, but that's the future, right? And then that's protecting their future ultimately. Mm-hmm. So when we do roll that out.
Well, and that's what Hanky just said, and that's kind of the note I just took, Hanky, is insurance has a lot more impact than we think. And I was actually just talking with John on this yesterday, is don't underestimate the power of y'all's product. And again, this applies across the board: life, health, PNC. I don't care what you're doing. Definitely Medicare. Do not underestimate the power of your product, right? Like we're talking about insuring, truck drivers, and I think truckers typically will get kind of maybe a different type of look towards them, right? Just because they're truckers, or because hey, all the billboards everywhere, how they kill people and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, it's in our script. They are the backbone of our freaking country, right? And there's so many good drivers out there that still shit happens, man.
Yep.
And having them insured correctly, this is another thing that we talk about is, don't go chasing commission, right? You guys just heard them, I'm sure a lot of agents like, shit, $25,000, $30,000 premiums. Like, I kind of want to get into trucking, man. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, do you even know anything about it? Right. And I think, and not to say that you can't get into it if you don't have maybe, leadership that can help you do that. If there's a ton of education, check out the Trucking Syndicate if you want to get in there. But again, don't underestimate the power of your product. It literally changes lives. It changes lives, or it saves lives. It definitely impacts lives, right? Especially if you don't have the right coverage. So I think that's what I got from that. And Hanky, you're right, man. Like we have so much impact in the industry as a whole. It's not just property and casualty. It's not just truckers. So believe in your product. The other thing I kind of like it on the trucking side too. Those high down payments and those high premiums. Don't get me wrong, I like them because the revenue is not bad. We do like the residuals on that too, but it's more of, man, it really helps people cut their teeth. Like, are they really serious about it? Like kind of what we were talking about earlier. Are they all in? Or is, man, I don't even know if I want to make that down payment. And then it's like, for me as an agent, I'm like, well, here comes a chargeback, right? If I'm already struggling with that. So I think, a lesson for y'all, if you guys hear that, those are the types of business owners you want to work with are the ones that when you hit them with a 3-5, whatever that down payment is, and they know, like, and trust you, like they're cutting their teeth and they're invested. And if they're invested, then you invest the time back to them through service, through ancillary products like warranties or truck financing or whatever that might be. Now we're getting into DOT compliance and all that
Sure.
good stuff.
High intention is reciprocated by high intention, right? I mean, that's ultimately what it is. And you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where it's like, man, if this guy can't afford the down payment, and we're literally this is the holdup here. It's like, what's next month going to look like? Like, because he's got to depend on getting loads, and like he's still got a lot of work to do.
So how do you have that conversation with them?
Well, it's
or do you?
I do. I tread lightly. That's number one.
You don't
right?
want to step on any toes.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, and I said that a little bit earlier, like, you got to keep in mind that, like, these guys, they do have families to support. They do, they are doing it for not just themselves, but to support their family, to support their wife, their kids, whatever it may be. But yeah, just really preparing them for, what the expectation looks like on the other side. It's like, man, just so once this insurance, you still got 3 weeks, man, before your MC goes live. Like, if you want to operate in state, you can operate in state, and those loads are going to be a lot cheaper, and you're not going to get, it's not a huge payday. It's going to get you by, but like, you got a 21-day grace period where it's like, that's what we're waiting on to make some real money. But just keep in mind that, like, my line's always open, man. You want to talk through something, yeah, even though I'm not a load dispatcher, but I can help you find that. I can help you source that.
People that can. There's a Facebook group for that, y'all. I promise you that.
Exactly. There's 10 of them at least. So
at least.
But yeah, it's a difficult conversation to have. And like, once again, like I said, tread light, and whether that be, I'm selling a homeowner's policy, right? And it's setting that expectation to, what my mortgage is going to look like and what the process of that is. Hey, I'm based, you're going to get an invoice that's going to have, double payment on a mortgage. And and Hanky, if you're watching, that's if you structured it right and named the mortgage company as a named insured on that policy.
Loan number was off.
Have definitely been guilty of not doing that and having to clean that up on the back end. That's fun.
Oh, but real quick though, because you said something that I think is extremely important, and I think you learned it probably the hard way, which was the reactive way, which was they were not prepared at all for the sticker shock that was coming their way. And again, this applies to all lines of business, right? If you're selling, I mean, there's some key man policies and like annuities and stuff that y'all are slinging out there that, like, you need to prepare them. And I love that you said that, is I have to prepare them for what it's going to be. I think you now do a really good job of, hey man, so just FYI, and this is like on the initial discovery call, you haven't even started the quoting process yet. You're going through and just letting them know, hey bro, this is what, just FYI, this is what it's going to look like, right? Being in this industry now and working with a lot of truckers, like, I'm just letting you know, brother. And I think so many of the times agents are losing deals because they're just trying to sling the deal real quick, or they're not just, hey, let me just get all that information. And then, but as soon as you take all that time to quote or whatever, and then you come back and they're like, whoa, what the hell is that? And then now your response is reactive to their reactive response. And then now, like, or what are we doing here, right? And so I think, really preparing your clients, whether that's, again, knowing percentage down payments. And this goes back to, who was on the podcast that we were talking about? Just knowing your freaking product. Actually, it was Ryan Stewman. Just knowing your product so that you can actually prepare them. Hey, by the way, Progressive is going to be this percentage down payment, right? We may not be able to, if you're on the person, we may not be able to do the 12-month auto or all those things that, again, just by knowing your product, you can very easily prepare them and be proactive in that, so that you're not fielding the calls and dealing with the sticker shock and then ultimately losing time. And when we're losing time and wasting the time and we're not getting the deal, then we're just losing money. Time is money, losing the deal. I mean, so just really being proactive and preparing them. I think you do a really good job on that.
Thanks, man.
So real quick, y'all, if you guys have any questions or anything, we're going to get ready to wrap up here. But if you have any questions specific to the trucking side of things or how Todd has found success there in a very short period of time, feel free to drop that in the comments. I know I've been trying to toggle back and forth between these.
Yeah, that's a definite multitask right there.
It is, dude.
I know,
and it's
I've
like I like
you do that. Like,
yeah, but then I also don't want to like wig out my guests because then they're like, wait, shit, what am I looking at? But drop them in the comments if you guys have any questions here before we wrap up. And with that being said, so Todd, obviously, so you're 6 months in, right? Obviously looking to make this thing kind of a career path, and have already started really like, man, I want to start up like a trucking firm and all this stuff. Like, and we're working on some really cool things there. What's next for Todd Wilson? Like, where do you see, or actually, let's do that. Where do you see yourself in the next 6 months? So you'll be 12 months in. Where do you see yourself in the next 6 months?
6-month goal is $1 million in premium.
And $1 million of premium. Okay.
12-month goals too.
Okay.
And then long term is like Joe said, it's starting a full-fledged firm, that helping these guys. I mean, let's be honest, they're on the road, and 9 times out of 10, I've got the window down in my ear, and I'm like, got this guy yelling at, I can't hear you. Can you speak up? And I'm like, oh man,
roll your window up, bro.
Yeah. And I'm like, and they're getting loaded up, whatever it may be, but it's like, they don't really have the time, and I mean, here's the thing, like, and this is my goal is to, and I truly like was inspired by SWAT, got me to this
point.
Like, and it's thinking next level for yourself and what you're doing. But I want to be that guy that's, filing the LLC for them, if they don't have a truck, finding that truck for them, getting them, invested into a financing option, package a warranty on top of that. We're working on, safety provisions, and those kinds of things.
Consortiums and stuff,
having a guy, I've got a great guy, bank. I've been with PNC Bank for 15 years now, something like that, bank manager there, and, starting up their, their business account for them, as long as, PNC's in their area, right. Or sourcing that for them. And, really just being that whole full service CPA on the back end. They got to file taxes. They're 1099, and that's a mess all on its own, but like really just being super connected and being able to fully service them on everything, just so that they don't have to take their attention off the road. Cause I want them to be safe while they're on the road.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, what I hear in that is resourcefulness. Y'all, now again, not to say like don't go chase all the shiny objects, right? Actually be resourceful. But there are so many resources that are at your fingertips that can separate you from the crowd, right? From all the noise, right? And especially again, if you're in the trucking space, like Todd and we ain't the only ones calling on these freaking truckers, right? No. I mean, there's thousands, if not millions of agents, probably thousands, probably not millions, but thousands of agents probably making millions of dials because we all got dialers now. But it's, what is separating Todd? What is separating you as the listener, right, from everybody else that's selling the product that you are? And again, maybe it's not necessarily your product. Maybe it's the ancillary things that you're not offering, the other value adds that just because you chose to do business with Todd, hey, oh, you haven't found that truck yet. Well, hey, I've got a guy that I work with that 90% of his referrals come through the actual vendors and the car dealers, right? And he actually has private lending options to get you better interest rates. And it turns out we can actually finance that warranty because I know your down payment's going to be 10% or 12% or 15% because of Progressive. And that's just called resourcefulness, right? And you have all of these things packaged that obviously is going to separate Todd from everybody else that's calling just, hey, bro, I'm trying to get their insurance. Maybe the reason you're losing the insurance is because you're not providing any other value. So just something to think about, just our 2 cents. But it's, again,
guys, what he's saying is specialize.
Yeah.
Find your niche and just run.
Yeah.
Sprint, specialize.
I like it. Well, let me see if we got any questions or any comments in here. Lily, yeah, thank you so much for dropping that on there. Wilson or Fields.
Oh man.
I love you for that one, Amar. I appreciate that, dude. We're not going to talk about that trash team on this podcast. So I'm kidding. Thanks, Todd, for being on here.
This is the last one I'm ever coming on.
This is the only one. Yes. The one and done. Sounds like the Steelers. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right. I'm done. All right, Syndicate members. Hey, we're going to wrap up here again. Don't hesitate to drop any comments if you are catching the replay. If you missed the live, no worries. It'll be pinned here in the group. So don't hesitate to reach out to Todd if you have any questions when it comes to commercial auto, trucking, all that good stuff. But again, in 6 months' time, I mean, the guy's already really finding his specialization. And that ultimately is, I'm going to close it out with, what are you doing with your in-between time? Right? He's not just doing all of that when, like he said, it's not shutting down, dude. I'm waking up on Saturday mornings and I'm using these resources, right, and these tools that I have that I know are effective. So again, what are you doing with your in-between time?
Sure.
Right. All right, guys, we appreciate y'all. It is the peak of the week. Keep getting after it, right? Keep the pedal on the floor. I want to see some wins. Drop those wins in the comments. Again, even if you're catching the replay, I don't care. Drop them in the comments. I would love to celebrate you guys. And I hope y'all have an amazing rest of your winning on Wednesday and the rest of the week. We'll catch you guys later. See ya. Got a little fucking toasty towards the end of that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, fuck.